No. There's something in there, dude. Just leave it.
Are you kidding me?
We'll just head to the house. Just leave it.
The hell with that.
Oh! Ah, yeah. There's something in there.
Want one?
Thank you.
It was worth it.
Oh man, this is incredible.
Oh, wow.
Huh?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. Hey man, grab me a meat stick. I think I can reach it if I just a little more. Just let me go a little. I can't. Just a little more. I almost got it. Careful! Oh God! No. Come on, just reach. Reach. Just grab my hand. I can't hold it. Grab my hand.
Give me the meat stick. This other hand's closer. The one with the stick is. Oh.
What am I supposed to say?
It doesn't matter. He's dead. He ain't listening to you anyway.
I'm hungry.
No. Put it away. I can't watch it. Oh, crap. Just reach in. You gotta pull it. Just grab it. Just take it out of his hand. What do you mean you can't?
He won't let go.
What do you mean he won't let go? He's dead.
Help me. Get in there.
No, just hold on.
Make him let go of it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the NECC Rainbow Six Siege Grand Finals. We have two teams loading their magazines with some brand new bullets, ready to go through the ringer of a beautiful best of five today on this gorgeous Wednesday evening. It's your boy T-Van, joined by the wonderful Ali, and we have got a banger series ahead of us. Ali, how are you feeling over there, my man?
Man, I'm feeling good. I'm back on NECC, so that is always a good time. A lot of acronyms actually in casting, I just realized. But anyways, got a banger series tonight, which is going to be Akron versus Kansas State University. Kansas State University. I knew I was going to do that because there are multiple KSUs in the collegiate scene, so I apologize there if you're a Kansas fan. We're going to have Kansas State University versus Akron. Like you said, best of five in the Division I finals. So it should be a pretty banger matchup. We can get those rosters loaded up and look at those. Akron Blue, Plexios, Zosa, Jutcon, Space, and Jobu. They recently qualified for Challenger Series, which is a first for collegiate. And then facing them, Kansas State University, Uni Yao Ming, Dr. Bagzio, Draken, and Worm.
Yeah, I mean, Akron is a team and a name that has been ringing through the halls of anyone that is even remotely near the Rainbow Six Siege scene. Like you said, the very first collegiate team to make challengers. This is a roster that has been playing and sweating their butts off, getting as far and as high a quality as possible. But as we've seen previously in other leagues, Akron does bleed. They have lost to other collegiate teams. And so, as much as we set up this Akron Blue roster to be the Thanos of the league, you never know what might happen, especially with a roster like Kansas State University. They did make it through the trenches of the lower bracket, and now they're ready to maybe make these players bleed as we go into the map bans. And Ali, we get to see what kind of maps we get to see today. 5 potential maps, those being Clubhouse, Cafe, Skyscraper, Bank, and Consulate. I skipped over Consulate. Sometimes I'm illiterate. But what a great roster of 5 maps. Very diverse. Some wonderfully vertical maps like Cafe, Consulate, and some great horizontal maps like Clubhouse and Skyscraper. And then Bank, Bank is Bank.
Yeah, I do think it is an interesting lineup, right? Because Clubhouse obviously is kind of like the standard map for Siege. I would say it's going to test the fundamentals of these teams more than the others. And then you have things, actually, really most of these maps, I would argue, are really going to be tests of teamwork and coordination and timing as well. Which, for me, in a grand final, that is really what I want to see, is a map pool that will force both of these teams to dig their heels deep and really show off the work they've been putting in to get to this point.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point of the fundamental Siege maps. I love the fact that Clubhouse, Cafe, and Consulate are those first three, because those to me are the very stereotypical Siege maps, as we are going to be heading into Clubhouse, the new Oregon, as some people say. This is the tried and true. One thing I wanted to bring up is that Kansas State banned maps like Border, which to me, or in Chalet, which are kind of maps that you can kind of frag out on. You don't really need to play through the strategy of Siege. You can kind of get away with playing a completely different style. And if you're up against a roster like Akron, these behemoth of players, you want to make sure that you're playing to your own advantages. Into Kansas, that might just be playing standard Siege, playing the strats that they have been scrimming the past couple weeks and throughout this tournament. And I feel like I completely agree with their decision today.
Getting into the map ban or operator bans for Clubhouse here. Nothing really too out of the ordinary thus far. Ram is probably the most adventurous we've gotten so far, but even then that does make a lot of sense, especially when you consider that basement site, as she is a staple on attacks for the basement, and her being gone just makes it a little bit more defensible. And then you have things like Blackbeard getting banned out, which you've seen if you've watched competitive Rainbow Six recently at any level, Pro League, Tier 2, Collegiate, whatever. And then we're going to round ourselves off with Valkyrie and the Zombie, who are also very much, especially on maps like Clubhouse, just staples of the bans.
Yeah, especially as Azami, you get to unlock parts of the map that usually you wouldn't really be able to hold, especially on a map like Clubhouse. I'm thinking of when you're holding server and cache, you're able to have such strong control of rafters compared to when you don't have Azami, right? You're able to play one ways. You require a lot of utility to take up that really vital space. And even in the basement holds, there's a lot of fun one ways that you can play to plug up those hatches and plug up the verticality that makes an already difficult attacking site even more difficult to attack, especially when Ram is off the board like we have today. My question for you, Ali, is now you see that Ram's off the board, you see Blackbeard. What are some of the attacking operators that you think will be staples going throughout these rounds, especially as we see basement being the first site?
I mean, Clubhouse is a map where the operator pool on both sides can be quite diverse. Things like the Ace that we see Zosa playing, I anticipate being staples for every site, because you just need solid, versatile hard breach, and the AK-12 is a hell of a gun. Things like Cabana are probably going to make appearances. Capitao as well is a staple, especially if you're tacking over towards CCTV. So really both teams do have a lot of options to look at what the other's doing round to round and then bring things to counter it. Although for this lineup specifically from Akron, they want to get in very, very quickly, take that control, and then have as much time as possible to work the site before they have to go in for the execute.
And we're seeing just that. So far, Akron has completely taken over second floor and even already prodded towards the first floor. And obviously they're able to do that as Kansas State has yet to put any sort of roaming presence towards the top side. No one playing towards first floor or second floor, and so they're able to just take up that space fast, and they can work this verticality and work these hatches with a lot of time left on the board. Like you said, Ali, this gives them a lot of time to potentially make Kansas make some mistakes, but also set up a take where Kansas State might not be prepared to hold back the unleashed attack that Akron will be able to provide.
Yeah, I do like this lineup just for an execute for Akron, as they have a ton of hard breach to open up any possible angles they might want. The Capitao is great for both sightline denial as well as spatial denial. And then you have things like the Thatcher to aid in the destroying of gadgetry. And Ash is just a great operator to allow some room in that fragging department. So really with this lineup, Akron can go anywhere they want, although it looks like they're going for something very blue-centric.
Yeah, it's very spread out, but the church take is going to be exactly the pressure that Akron needs as they find two. It's Dr. Bags who's playing towards church, and Kaid is going to be taken down, but Space is exploring for its secret, and it's going to be rewarded by finding Yao Ming, but the church player of Unizera is able to frag back. He found his second kill of the round, and he's able to reset back towards the chassis. A little separated from where Draken is, but Zosa and Jet have all the space that they need. Jet still playing towards the verticality, supporting Zosa, but the reload punish from Unizera is beautiful. A third kill, needs one more to be able to pick up this first round against Akron Blue, but Jet is good for these 1v2s. Capital bolts, 2 smokes are available to him. He does have to explore through a crossfire that Draken is able to just swiftly take away, and Kansas State swiftly takes a first defending round against Akron Blue.
They did a very good job rebuffing that very, very quick attack from Akron. Akron were able to make quick work of kind of what they wanted to open, but I think that there were some pieces that needed to go or be executed together more closely than they were. Like, we saw Space walking down blue, kind of going for a lurk, but by the time he really had a gunfight, almost everyone had already died that was in other areas for that execute. And then him doing that was also disconnected from the other 2 players alive, making their move over towards church. And that just gives Kansas State the room they need to prioritize their fights, reposition between fights, and just kind of rebuff anything that's being thrown at them. And so that execute, right, I do really like it, but that needs to be tightened up with some better timing going forwards. Otherwise, Kansas State have demonstrated they're going to be able to rebuff and deconstruct these attacks.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that they did a great job of identifying what Akron Blue was going for. Like you said, a very, honestly, default take. Not a lot of spice that they've shown there. But we do see Kansas State is going to now take us to bedroom gym. That is nowadays the meta, as you go to basement and then to the bedroom. Cache is now that tertiary site, but they're going to be extending towards rafters and server and cache and take up the space that they can then flood back towards. Unizera is going to be that first line of defense, potentially going to be facing a contact of space going into garage, as Draken is playing towards bottom red, supporting that garage space. Space is namesake, trying to take up that space, but he's going to get shot down from the SMG-11 to 1 HP. Draken is still holding that cross. He feels a little pressure coming from a drone in secret. A hop-in could be dangerous for that crossfire, so he's flooded back to top red. But Akron Blue is just poking, prodding, trying to find the information, trying to find the gaps of Kansas State's defense.
Yeah, they want Unizera out of this position, but they don't really have a great way to get him out so far. They tried the direct walk from space, but even with the SMG-11, that is still a very dangerous gunfight for the attack, and they don't have a proper counter angle for him. They might have an angle on him here, and yes, they do, even with a Deimos holding for that refrag from top red, but they've used quite a bit of time just taking this space, and that's not even considering that the bomb site is on the other side of the top floor. They need to start moving more quickly here.
They do catch the defenders decently spread out, though. If they're able to find Draken as well, then as they look towards the site, it's only 3 members remaining, and if you remember previously on that basement hold, it was a 5v5 that was unsuccessful. Space lurking towards Cash, but Draken with a beautiful find of Plexios. That's the Deimos down, but the swift flood from Akron to trade them out is beautiful. Yao Ming being pinched from Jobu, playing towards Highway, and now the eyes are towards the site itself, a 2v4, and the Tuberau is feeling a lot of pressure in Bathroom. Worm, though, does have an angle from Logi, but Jetcon with a beautiful frag. A pre-fire on that angle is going to serve quite well as Space delivers the final kill for Akron and swiftly takes down Kansas State's defense of Bedroom Gym.
There's a lot of emphasis placed on the cache and CCTV side of the map for Kansas State, which does make sense, as that is usually, how this is played. But they kind of overplayed their hand there. They threw Unizera off on an island alone as mute, which eventually led to his death. And then even when that is refragged, You have the Warden at the top of red who's just on an island. He's gonna die at some point. And then you have the Bandit as well, who tries to stay there, but he's not really like playing off of his teammate top red or trying to be proactive, and so he just gets killed through a window, which then means that the last two defenders have to get active. They have to make something happen, and they both end up walking into really awkward gunfights as a result, because Akron knows what the play is there. They're anticipating those aggressive gunfights coming their way. So that just turns into more kills for them, which just kind of snowballs into that round win going in favor of Akron.
Kansas State now bringing us to server cache hold. And something that's quite interesting is this is not going to be your standard cache server hold that you usually see, as it is going to be an extension pretty heavy into garage as well as into lounge. They're going to be bringing all the castles into lounge, playing some verticality to support Yao Ming down there, but also they have a Mira that's looking into sight from rafters, so they really want to emphasize that amount of pressure. And I think the other side of the flip side of the coin for their play here is the fact that now they're going to give up a lot of construction. Unless they're spreading themselves super thin, then they can have that space, as Akron is now going to put their eyes towards a Maverick trick on the main breach of server.
Honestly, I do really like the Maverick trick on this site. I think it is often a thing that you see the defense really commit to, is keeping that wall closed, and you really need that open for any take that you're going to do. So just skip straight past that, open it up with the Maverick. And even if you don't want the full wall open, just having that wide of a hole to wash things through is very, very beneficial. Though the rest of the team is going more towards construction side, which means that cache breach is most likely going to be more for counter pressure to prevent the defenders from properly rotating when that execute goes down. But for that to be beneficial, they still do need to put some work into clearing garage and taking some space over by cache.
My question mark, though, here, Ali, is what is this cache hold going to be like with their pressure from garage? That Mira setup, to me, is just such a question mark. Do they pop the window, or are they just going to play that single window? How do they get frags, and how do they hold off the Akron flood if they just have that one-way mirror? Obviously, we're going to be finding out as Akron just continues to poke and prod. It seems that Space might have an idea of Yao Ming, who's playing towards stage, as that is going to be the next point of pressure from from Akron, excuse me. Yao Ming is going to be contesting that pressure as he's going to swing around, but Worm is going to be taking a lot of damage, and Unizera is going to be taken down, forcing Yao Ming to go away as his point of support is now gone. Akron left alone on site. Dr. Bags and Worm, I mean, they're starting to get flooded as well, but Akron just makes them very claustrophobic here as the beautiful verticality usage of Plexios is going to find that first frag, and the flood continues as Zosa takes up the space. Diffuser going down, Draken forced to 1 HP, eventually dead. 5v2 now as Space is floating once again. Yao Ming left alone first floor, and the last remaining member in sight is shot in the head by Jet. Yao Ming, what can you show us with this UMP? You have to score an ace to be able to win, but it's a flawless round instead by Akron Blue.
I think that Akron and I were on the same page after that first round, because I essentially criticized them for not crossing their T's and dotting their I's. The execute was well put together, but, and pardon the pun, not well executed, which just allowed for Kansas State to get back into the round and manage the gunfights much more effectively. But these last couple rounds, Akron had been very good at identifying what the holes in the defense are and corralling these players so the gunfights go their way very successfully. And on top of that, Akron have been in control of the opening kill all 3 rounds, even on the first round that they lost, which is a huge amount of space to have going in your favor. And so with that, combined with that more careful approach that Akron had been taking, along with some knowledge they've gathered along the way for Kansas's playstyle, it's allowed them to work things significantly more effectively, and it hasn't left Kansas an easy backdoor to worm their way out of an execute.
10 seconds to go.
Kansas State now back to the first round win that they found earlier in the map. towards the basement, but this time with a different look. They do have a vigil this time around to be able to play some phantom pressure of the second floor. Dragon on that vigil. With the late reinforcement of the server breach, just one though this time around. My other question mark that I do see here, Ali, is that they are bringing the Thorn, but it's a Thorn with the shotgun instead of the usual Uzi that we see, which to me is going to be quite interesting. I guess it's just going to be playing those close contacts, like we saw Akron take those gunfights in the previous round. I wonder if it is just that, or if it is just a strat that they have down there, as they've been showing off some fun new strats that usually aren't quite default or comp.
But I think the idea is just that they wanted the Thorn, but they also want a shotgun for setup as Draken. It's taking a ton of damage over on the other side. They're really working on clearing out this roam by playing it together and by cutting off these angles as much as they can. He isn't going to fall off, but he is very, very much worse for wear. And he's given up the space for Akron to get into the top floor and start opening things up a little bit here so they can work that roam and then eventually get on to the site.
Oh my god, and Plexios finds Unizera through the highway window, and now that's going to give them a lot of that verticality. As you said, they do need to clear out these bar players here, but you know, they have the verticality to play around. They're able to open up Billiards hatch potentially and play through there with that gym control, as well as these main stairs to put that pressure. So Zosa has lounge control in stock. It is going to be castled off, but if you just open that stage wall, as we see here, now that's going to be those bar players. We see them flooded down. Dr. Bags-Yo is still holding a little bit of pressure on main stairs, but they still don't. They're starting to get a little claustrophobic in their sight.
I mean, they've all been forced back into there, I think, much sooner than they would have liked. And given how fast we know Akron can set up and execute, that is far from ideal. There's a full minute to work with here, and they're starting to get pressure over towards triple wall. They're opening, the hatches are already opened actually because of how the roam went, and that's just too much time to allow Akron to work things.
And this is going to be deja vu from that first round, but this go around Kansas State is a little bit more injured, and they're going to get a lot more injured as the kills start flying. It's a swift execute as you predicted. 4 kills within 5 seconds. A drop from Church to secure those graves for Kansas State, and Akron is going to dominate on the attack so far.
I mean, we did hype them up in that pre-show for a reason. Akron have really been working to be the best of the best in terms of collegiate. And actually, while I was looking at the bracket so far to get here, just for some notes for myself for the game, they've been flawless inside of the playoffs. They've not dropped a single map getting here, and you can really see why. They have a great knowledge of what's happening on the map, what their teammates are doing, where the gaps in the defenses of their opponents are. And now, after that first round being the only real hiccup, they've had a good sense of the timing of these executes as well. They've had several things happening at once that Kansas State can't just react to all of it in time. And it just ends up with people rotating into so many different positions that Akron have premeditated and are counting on.
Akron's a good team for a reason, Ali. I mean, you can't just give them these free spaces, these free kills. I mean, like you said, they're not just a team that wants to be the best of collegiate. They want to be the best in North America and potentially contest even those international threats. This is a team that wants glory. They want more than just what the sky is as a limit. And we're going to see them continue to push through that as we continue with these NECC Grand Finals. This is the first map, so this is going to be a bit of a marathon, but that's a marathon that Akron is quite familiar with. It is round 5 here on the clubhouse, so we're going to be exploring the second floor for the next 2 rounds, we can only assume, and we're going to be seeing a pretty standard take from Akron once again, just poking and prodding around. They do great drone work in the early round to open up these avenues to where they can start their early aggression and put pressure on these roamers of Kansas State.
You can already see they're really aware of the fact that the roamers exist and already making efforts to corral them. And they force them to run very far away. That leaves this lone cash player whose existence is known. And now they're going to start trying to collapse on him, but it's not needed because he runs right into the waiting arms of space. And that is all of Cash side given up to Akron with almost 2 minutes left in the round. And they've already started working other positions on the map as well. They're in a great position to work this further.
I think the word you use there, corralled, is so perfect, as Kansas State's defenders are stuck in 2 positions. All they have is Logi and bathroom and the bedroom to play in. They're stuck in this corner, and Akron Blue is surrounding them like they're fish in a barrel. Drones going towards these Logi players. They do have rotates to play pretty fluidly around these spots, but a drop from Plexios and a flood from Construction is going to open up the round as they find Worm, and Jobu finds Draken. So now it's up to Dr. Bagzio and Yao Ming to fight back, but these players have not a lot of space, but they could be like a tiger in a cage fighting back. Yao Ming proves that, but Space fights back, finds 2 more, and rips away 1 more attacking round.
I do appreciate that Kansas are making a consistent effort to adapt to what's happening. We're not seeing them just run the same thing over and over again and pray that it's going to work. But when they're doing these adaptations, I think sometimes they're misunderstanding a little bit of what makes Akron's takes work. And the way they're doing things is kind of obtuse at times. Like, we see these 2 roamers kind of in that, like, lounge area, and then they fall immediately back into the basement. That doesn't really have much impact, and it just leaves one guy alone inside of Cache, who then gets immediately killed because they know he's alone in Cache. And then now you have the opposite problem as your last gym defense, where instead of all dying in Cache, you've given your opponents one of the most valuable positions to take, effectively for free, along with the opening pick yet again. So Kansas, right? Again, I love that they're trying to adapt, but they need to be better at mid-round, realizing what Akron is doing, and then looking to disrupt that.
5 seconds left.
Disruption being the key for the final round of Kansas State's defensive half here on Clubhouse. Completely agree with your points there. Disruption, I feel like, is such a great word, as Akron just feels like they're getting everything they want without that much sweat. They're able to take up the space, they're working the utility as they want. It doesn't feel like the utility that they use is going to waste. Like, I feel like one of the common things that you see is a bandit trick to deny some of the hard breach, so you have to use more utility. We aren't seeing any sense of that. But as you said, they are adapting quite well, and I think that the adaptation of the characters that they're bringing this time around is going to help them out. The Wamai, I think, is one of the biggest ones, as one of the big cruxes that Akron has been finding in the late takes of Basement is the ability to use a Selma charge on that church breach. Being able to have the Wamai discs to deny that is going to allow them to deny some of their space taking, and also allow them to corral them into things like the church flood through the hatch, and allow Yao Ming with the Toxic Babes to make them a little bit worse for wear as they continue that flood.
I can't confirm this theory, but I'm pretty sure every time we've spectated Zosa, he's been using a different sight on his guns, so...
I was gonna say that too, yeah.
Yeah, that is kind of a funny... I respect it, honestly. I like to switch them out quite often. I am a red dot C enjoyer. But back to the things that actually matter. We're in a very similar or familiar position. Akron have a good amount of time to work the site, while also having the space to work that site, and that's exactly what we see them doing here. Opening things up, clearing out lines of sight, preparing to go for this execute.
A great frag, though, from Unizera to deny a little bit of that pressure, but that pressure continues as Zosa from bottom main is going to get that sweep up that trade and going to put some more pressure towards these dirt players. But now the eyes are towards the blue, but it's actually a flood from Kansas State, and Zosa finds 2 more. The refrag is not enough as he refrags himself. 4v2 now for Kansas State, and their backs are against the wall. The stab in the back from Jobu, and now it's Space, Jet, Jobu, Zosa against one man Worm, and Worm is gonna flick around but not find enough bullets to Zosa. Kansas back against the wall, forced to go on the attacking side of Clubhouse with only 1 round to their name.
So, cool bug fact. This is Akron's pick. I don't know if you could tell from how good they are at it, but they did want to go here. So it does make sense that they're doing very, very well. And I think as well as one thing I kind of want to, or that I did mention before that I want to call back to, is Clubhouse tends to be a map that is dominated by fundamental play. It is a map that I don't really want to use solved, because I think that kind of
Attackers need to locate and
isn't
bombs to make
the right word, but it's a map that is very well known. Just about anyone who's played comp for any length of time is going to have a very deep understanding of Clubhouse. And so it shines our teams that know how to work the solid fundamentals of the game. Your crossfires, your communication, your timing, your utility usage. And that is an area where Akron is unquestionably going to excel over Kansas State University, because they've just been around the block a time or two. I mean,
10
JetCon
seconds to go.
was for a long, long time on that SSG Academy roster that ended up
5
winning
seconds left
Element
before
4.
insertion.
These are players who have tons of experience between them,
Attackers are
who
moving out
aren't
and located
going
bombs.
to make silly mistakes.
I mean, also just think about the amount of scrims that they have on these maps. I mean, I was actually going to talk more about that, but then I remembered I actually did an interview with some of Akron's players near the end of their CR6 journey, and Plexios talked to me about how they actually don't scrim that much. They have just, they're in 6 different leagues at the time that I was talking to them, where they didn't have a scrim every day. They actually just had a game day every day. And so they're probably playing Clubhouse a lot, and not just in the scrim setting where you can make mistakes and you can just try new things. Instead, it's on game days where every round matters, and so they have to fight for every single piece of space. And we're seeing that in these attacks and these defaults, and now their defense here. They know what they're doing. They know their win conditions. All of them do. And they're all working towards the same goal.
One thing I want to highlight as well that kind of supports that is, if you look at the 3 roamers that we just spectated, they're all playing near a fallback point. They're playing to make sure that they can still exert pressure over the rest of the map, shoot a drone or two, maybe shoot a guy if someone's out of position, but they're not going to get caught too far away to properly retreat. And that is crucial to Clubhouse when you're playing these types of rounds, because the attack knows where these people are.
Oh my
and Space,
God.
he's gonna get a frag onto Yao Ming, and he's gonna play off of that Echo drone. He's gonna get killed off immediately afterwards. But you trade your Maverick for a Frost, I'm taking that any day of the week, and they don't know that Plexios is here.
Lurking in stock, Plexios still putting pressure on Lounge, but like you said, has a fall-off point. But it doesn't seem like Kansas State is aware at all. They do have the blitz if they want to put pressure, but the pressure is actually on the verticality. JetCon swiftly takes that away. No more Buck ringing true, any holes or anything above you. It's only the Bailiff now from Draken and a couple of the breach charges from Unizera that is going to put the pressure on these players, but the difference between Akron Blue's attack versus Kansas's is the timer that we see above our screen. 45 seconds, 40 make that now, and Kansas State does not really have a lot of space to be able to play through. They're still putting pressure on this first floor. Plexios finally drops from first, and then with 30 seconds remaining, Kansas State is going to have to take and have some miracles on this take, because Unizera is still fighting ghosts. The rest of his teammates are flooding in from construction. Draken finds the first, but the stun from the Echo is going to secure some easy kills, and that final stab in the back that was the plan is swiftly taken from the Kaid, holding from Moto.
It was a very anchor-heavy defense, and yet it was very proactive in the way that it was anchor-heavy. They were constantly looking for what Kansas State's win condition was. What are they trying to open? What ground do they want to take? And then they were just throwing things into those gears to grind them to a halt. They killed off that Buck that was going to try to do vertical play. They killed off the Maverick that was going to be used to open the electrified hatches. They were using the Tubero as well to disrupt that vertical play after the Buck was gone that they were trying to make still. And all of that was done consistently throughout just the whole round, not even right before the execute. And so what you have is an execute where Kansas State is just running into pre-established crossfires that Akron are holding and just dying. Because they did get one kill on that entry, but that caused both of those players to turn their backs and get shot by Jobu and Plexios.
It's not even just their support physically with each other, but they also have an echo drone supporting all two of those positions on that roam. Like you're saying over and over, Akron is just such a cohesive unit, and it just seems easy to them. Like, I mean, obviously this team has been playing with each other for a long time. They obviously are going to have that cohesion, and they're going to have that synergy. But it also just seems like one fluid machine. Like, if all 5 of these players were up like a hive mind, and yet all 5 players have the ability to make very strong individual plays. At any moment, any of these players could just easily frag out, as we see Space has been so far, Zosa has been. I mean, all 5 of them have great fragging power and great KDA so far. And, you know, it just takes one player from Kansas State to do the same thing as the Flood goes in, but it's swiftly taken down. JetCon finding 2, and Plexios finding the Amaru going in main. Sens is going to try and find 1, but he's going to be eaten by a shorty. And, well, that's wraps on that attack.
It was an interesting one. I get the idea that they wanted to go for, but it's kind of like that first attack from Akron that I criticized, actually, where there are a lot of pieces that would have worked well together that were executed in a sequence rather than being all at once, so they just kind of are null and void. Like the bandit killing the Amaru on the main stairs would have been nullified by the Maverick hold that was made after that happened, as an example. But even still, a lot of speed like that can work, but Akron were just prepared for people to go in very, very fast.
Yeah, Akron was quite prepared, and they're seemingly prepared for the marathon that we have ahead of us. It is a best of 3, but I do want to remind you guys that you got to fuel your game with Wenzel's Farm Snack Sticks. No mess, no distractions, just bold, protein-packed flavor to keep you locked in like Akron is. Whether you're grinding ranked or leading the squad, Wenzel's keeping you powered. Grab a stick, stay in the game, crush the competition. I personally am going to go grab one on this break as we go into map 2. I hope, Ali, you are as well. Guys, we'll see you very soon.
What am I supposed to say?
It doesn't matter. He's dead. He ain't listening to you anyway.
I'm hungry.
No. Put it away. I can't watch it. Oh, crap. Just reach in. You gotta pull it. Just grab it. Just take it out of his hand. What do you mean you can't?
He won't let go.
What do you mean he won't let go? He's dead.
Help me. Get in there.
No, just hold on.
Make him let go of it. No, I got you. Just go in for a hug. Go and get on in there. It's a bad loss. Yeah, hug him up. Just reach. Hug him up.
He's breathing.
I think it's on the other side.
Go.
I can't.
Just-
I can't do it.
Help me, Lord. Help me get over this loss.
I can't breathe.
Yeah, I can't breathe. I'm so upset. I can't breathe. Stop. You knock on wood so they go to heaven. It's like a lucky.
Hey, get the stick.
Hey, did you get the meat stick?
Yeah, I got it.
Hey, just hold tight for a second. They're moving the casket. Just hold tight.
Yeah, that's no worries. I got it.
Oh, what an awesome day for a pump, dude.
Yeah, I gotta take it easy. Doc says if I exert myself, I will die.
You overexert yourself, you will die.
I'll tell you what, you finish the workout, all these could be yours. That looks good. A little bit of honey ham for the ham. Get after it, and that's your, nope, get after it, and that's your treat. Stay, do the exercise, do the work, then you get the reward. That's how this works, man. You gotta give it max effort, maximum effort. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Big hams. Make it work, those hams. Work 'em. Putting in the work. Yeah, baby. Yes. Dude, this is a spicy workout. Gotta make Make it worth it. Building the beef and bringing home the bacon, baby. I'm loving it. Teriyaki is just about within your reach. Come on, get you some. Come on. Ooh, ooh. Maximum effort. Maximum effort. You're there. You're almost there.
That's so worth it.
What do you make of this up here? Just showed up in the yard a couple days
Has a
ago.
dog been digging in here?
I don't think so, dude. That goes way down in there. Seriously, did you just lose your meat stick?
Yeah.
Oh, no. There's something in there, dude. Just leave it.
Are you kidding me?
We'll just head to the house. Just leave it.
The hell with that.
Yeah, there's something in there.
Want one?
Thank you.
It was worth it.
Oh, man, this is incredible.
Oh, wow.
Huh?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. Hey, man, grab me a meat stick.
And welcome back to the NECC Grand Finals. It's once again T-Van, joined by the wonderful Ali, and we've got some more wonderful Rainbow Six Siege ahead of us. We just hopped off of a 7-1 victory from Akron on their own map pick of Clubhouse, and now we're going to continue that carnage of Rainbow Six Siege going to the second map. Ali, how are you feeling about this matchup so far?
Well, unless I am trolling all of us, the second map was Cafe Dostoyevsky, which is a map that I personally like a lot. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this one plays out. Yes, thank you, Kai, for showing us those map picks yet again. It's very similar to Club in a lot of ways, but it's also a lot more vertical heavy than Club is. And I'm really interested to see how that plays out, especially since in that attack onto basement, I highlighted that Akron were very good at stopping the vertical play that Kansas were trying to throw at them.
Yeah, I mean, Cafe to me is just like one of the most vertical maps in the game, outside of a map like Consulate, which we are going to be seeing in the third map. I do hear that we are going to be heading into game here to see how this Cafe is going to turn out. But with the way that Akron has been playing these attacks, I feel a little worried for Kansas State, because Cafe is one of those maps where you can really pick apart the defense little by little on the attack. You can find spaces and pull people away and isolate them quite easily, as it is a very large map. And so far, it seems that Akron has been showing a great aptitude to do that. We saw that on Clubhouse quite easily. And if that's happening on Clubhouse, I can only assume it's happening on Cafe. But like we just saw in All Chat, this is Kansas State's map. So we might be seeing something completely new here.
I love when players are in all chat, by the way, is it is usually absolutely hilarious. So shout out to the gang. Though going into the bans, we're seeing a Demos ban on Cafe, which I do like a lot for this map. We've highlighted that it's very good vertically, but it's also a very roam heavy map most of the time. And Deimos is someone who excels in both of those categories. He's not a traditional vertical play operator like Buck, but if he tracks someone, his pistol is pretty good at shooting them through that floor. And that's not a power that I'd want to see in the hands of Akron, with how efficient the roam clearing already was on Clubhouse.
Yeah, I mean, I think my worst nightmare of playing Rainbow Six Siege is actually loading into a game, seeing all of Akron on the enemy team on Cafe, and then hearing that they have a Buck Deimos on their roster. That is terrifying. The floor is going to be lava for the rest of my life, and I'm not going to want to play Rainbow Six Siege again. And that might be the fate that Kansas State will have to find on the second half of this map. But so far, going into this first round, it is Akron starting on the defense, and they are going to be going into the second floor, which we have seen is this higher level of play meta, the kind of tier 1, tier 2 meta of Cafe, of playing second floor first. You kind of hold the vertical, usually with a Mira. We're not going to be seeing Mira this time, but playing spread out, holding that third floor, and using the second floor as a means to fall back on, so you can give up space and waste time against the attackers. And we're seeing that there's going to be a lot of utility to stall that time and stall that space as well, with things like that Fenrir, like that Castle, and like the Malusi, which are going to be able to cause Akron to be able to hold down gaps that they can't hold very easily, as they are going to be fully spread out.
I do really like this defensive lineup from Akron. And I actually do want to revisit your point a little bit about the second floor site being very common to start with. One of my favorite things about Cafe is that all 4 sites are entirely viable, so you really can go anywhere you want. As we see Kansas State doing right now, as the Pulse might have an opportunity here, but he's actually going to think better of it and just get the heck out of Dodge and preserve his life, as he does show himself over there, but getting out is going to be the more important thing there, because that utility is really scary when you're trying to execute on this site.
Yeah, I thought that Zosa had a timing there to be able to get that freebie, but because Yao Ming was on his phone checking Clash of Clans and also checking what coat check looked like, and he did spot out Zosa. So just poking and prodding though, finding that information. Like you said, the roam-heavy map of Cafe is seen right here. The spread-out defense of Akron. It is going to be a little worrisome for them, though, if Yao Ming is able to take up a lot of space. But it seems that's actually going to be the direct space that they're looking for as they go into Museum and be shot down immediately in Museum. Jetcon finding Nuzera. Mario from below going up the hatch, but the footholes are going to reveal his play. A swing out from Jetcon is going to find his second of the round. And Worm and Draken, who are very isolated and very disconnected from their initial attack, are going to be left alone in a 4v2.
Very good initial just readiness, once again, from Akron to stop that aggressive play. The utility they have on these staircases is also proving to be hell for Kansas State to deal with, as that's kept Draken very occupied over towards White, which allows for a distraction for a player to walk up to coat check. They're all just going to try to collapse on him now, surround him one after another. The flicks aren't enough. Jobu with the C4. And that is Akron State taking a phenomenal first round.
As we were talking about in the pre-round and during the drone phase, Akron had the utility to be able to cover all of their bases. Like you said, all of the staircases either had a Malusi on it or a Fenrir on it or a body to play off of those. Kansas State didn't really have any utility to clear it out. They had a set plan of maybe taking a vertical, just going through the second floor. But when they're faced with all that utility and some well-placed C4s and some well-placed crossfires, you're just going to be shredded. A massacre happened there. And like we said, something that you brought up multiple times on Clubhouse is also the attack of KSU has been a little bit disconnected. There are times where we see the flurry of kills happen and then we cut back to 2 members just still outside or completely disconnected from what their 3 teammates were doing. The lack of 3-2-1s and the lack of cohesion is what Akron is doing a great job of punishing so far.
And now back down to the basement we go. Gonna see Jabu on that Echo again, which is an operator that I do quite like to see on this map. Is there obviously there are lots of little places to hide it in kitchen, as you've no doubt discovered if you've played ranked on this map. But also because roaming is very common on this map, and Echo allows for the defenders to drone their roamers around, which when you got someone like Plexios or Jetcon or Space, or really anyone on this roster with information like that behind them, that's a gunfight that I'm going to assume they're pretty safely going to win.
Kansas State this go around is looking for a vertical play, which you can only assume as, once again, it is Cafe. The defenders are going to be on the basement here, so their first eyes are going to be set onto the 3rd floor. Not a lot of presence from Akron that we can see. It's just going to be Plexios kind of going up and down from 3rd to 2nd. But obviously Kansas State needs to use some utility and use some time to discover the fact that we know, or the facts that we do know. They do have the Ying this go around, which I do like. Allow them to have advantageous gunfights and be able to play some very fast pops and cause a lot of chaos against these players. It's just if Dr. Bagzio will have the follow-up with him to be able to play off those and get those frags.
So Gridlock already trying to make very quick work of cutting off those flanks, as those can be hell on earth if they're left unattended, and a team knows how to work them. You see Buck as well doing a little bit of light vertical play on that 3rd floor, just to try to catch people out of position or cause rotations from Akron that might be beneficial for the players they have on windows. But Space is gonna continue that trend of Akron being good in that opener, and he almost has a second as well, although he does get refragged, but Zosa's already gotten the second.
Space taking up a lot of space for his namesake towards Train, but a Z ping from JetCon be able to find Draken, so now it's a 4v2. The Ying and IQ are left alone. They're fighting this 3rd floor player, and they're gonna take him down. It's Zosa there on the smoke. No more Toxic Babes, and now the Ying Candela's ring true, but Unizera is going to find out his teammate's Candela as well. Dropping down into Laundry, but his teammate's going to take some bullets. The timing from Pillar is quite unfortunate, and JetCon uses that timing to his advantage and find his. Dr. Bagzio trying to find the trade, trying to find his first kill of the round, but it's narrowly avoided as Legion falls behind that Pillar. 35 seconds remaining, and Dr. Bagzio still has some Candelas to play off of. But this is still Akron Blue. This is a team that is going to play cohesively, and they still have a yokai drone alive. All these gunfights, by the way, have been on 2nd and 3rd floor. As a reminder, the site is 1st floor. Candela being popped, but the yokai drone is making a lot of trouble. The swing from JetCon, and the ACOG covers the swing. It is a beautiful super shorty to the chest, and a beautiful round from Akron Blue.
Any location that Kansas wanted to get into that round, there was someone from Akron already contesting that spot. It was kind of like just walking around a dirty house and seeing roaches everywhere. You just can't get rid of them. When you get rid of one, there is another immediately behind it. And it was sure done a little bit crudely, I guess is the word for it. I mean, you don't normally expect to see a smoke all the way on 3rd floor when the site's on the 1st. But just that idea from Kansas, or from Akron, of constantly causing problem solving to be necessary for Kansas State, it really threw them off kilter and gave so much room to maneuver around and take the gunfights on Akron's terms, without Kansas ever truly having an opportunity to take a second to formulate a proper comeback.
Akron Blue now taking themselves to the 3rd floor of Cafe here. This is going to be more familiar grounds for Kansas State, as collegiate teams are usually rocking the 3rd floor as their primary site, I would say. And so, you know, this might be they might have a take in mind here that might be a little bit more successful. Something that I like to think about with the new meta of these 2nd floor holds, especially on things like Cafe, is, you know, there's going to be some teams that are behind that meta, and they're not going to have as much experience. We're going to be seeing Akron once again playing a very spread out version of this hold. There's little tricks that I haven't even thought of, like that Fenrir placement right there under New Balk as well. I've actually never seen that in opening the floor, so it hits both that single door going into reading and then also the window hop in from 3rd. Like, I mean, these guys are CL for a reason, as the EMP is going to be dropping, and Kansas State is looking for some pressure top red.
Yeah, the first major obstacle they're going to have is going to be Jobu, although Plexios also wants to make that more difficult, just playing very far up in piano. And there's actually not pressure on the windows, I just realized, which is quite odd. Although we see constantly, Akron, they're moving around to protect their teammates. Now we see Space in a more upfront position to work off of Plexios inside of Piano, who's trying to work off of Jobu inside of Humidor. Just that web they form makes it so difficult for Kansas to find a proper entry into the round.
Well, and that web is constantly moving too. You get a drone and you get information, but then all of a sudden that player is not even in that spot. And that player might even be in your spawn if their name is JetCon, finding the 7th kill of the round. But they do find Jobu. A hop down from Nubalk finds that Cigar player. It's quickly traded back from Plexios, now aggressing into Cigar from Lounge. They know that there are a couple players there. The Fenrir F-Not is also going to give some more information. It's going to be Yao Ming there, supported by Worm. Draken, though, needs to start to get a part of this fight, and he is, as he's lurked up top brown. Yao Ming finds one, and it's a fight towards Nubalk, but a little whiffage is going to allow Zosa to reposition himself and play with his teammates. That web that keeps spiraling around the attack of Kansas State is going to strike again with Space, finding the 3rd kill of the round. Gonna slow down now, Kansas State, trying to find a freebie from Akron. So far, they have not been giving any. JetCon 7-0, potentially looking for more. He tanks a couple bullets, but gets the information on where the Zofia is. He finds his next victim of Worm, and looking for his 3rd kill. He finds JetCon, but Space immediately swings out and supports his teammate. Finds another kill, and Akron is wiping the floor of Cafe.
It's no matter what Kansas do to try to get one over on Akron, they just can't find any opening in that defense. And a lot of it does have to do with that web we were talking about that is constantly moving around in response to what is happening and what isn't happening as well. We very rarely see Akron waste space, I guess would be the term for it. When they're on their defenses, they're trying to be proactive, figuring out where Kansas are coming from and what to do with that information. And actually, fun fact, I just realized, that was the 10th round in a row that Akron has won this game. Is they lost the first round on map 1, then won 7 straight, and now they've won 3 straight here on Cafe. Even with it being Kansas State's map pick, that mastery of a lot of the same fundamentals that worked on Clubhouse are present. But in addition to that, there is a mastery and understanding of Cafe specifically that is just a level above what we're seeing out of Kansas.
5 seconds to go.
Ali, this is one of those worries that I did have when we were looking at those maps, is the fact that the first 3 maps specifically are very fundamental siege maps. We were saying that that could be a potential advantage for a team like Kansas that might rely on those fundamentals. But one worry that I didn't bring up immediately, but I'm now being reminded of, is the fact that Akron is very well known for being a very good fundamental siege player. They're not, or a team, excuse me. They're not a team that has flashy plays, crazy strats, completely changing the meta. They perfect the meta. They find these fundamentals of how they play each and every map, and they perfect it. And we're seeing that masterclass go on so far here, and we might be seeing it continue as they are taking us to the 2nd floor. Kansas State this time around attacking the 2nd floor with a little bit more roam clear to play with. They have the Shield of the Monty supported by the Jackal of Unizera. So trying to find these isolated players of Akron, but like you keep saying, they are a web of defenders, and that web is going to be led by Zosa, finding 3 heartbeats on the 3rd floor.
There's also the Brava, which I do really like as a pick, as though that Malusi, Mute, and Fender combination has been very potent for Akron when it comes to holding space. Although we have to see if Worm is able to get those drones into the positions he needs. As Jobu is actually the first point of contact here, tucked inside a bathroom, as Monty's playing with the idea of walking at him, but he is still afraid of that web we've been talking about, although Space gets picked up by Unizera, Zosa gets one immediately afterwards, and he immediately replaces his teammate, so that web on the top floor is still ever present.
Jobu still is in the corner, and he's unseen by Dr. Bags. He's going to be knocked down, and now the attack of the third floor is falling apart. Rickon by himself now in bar, trying to find some heroics potentially, some support from the windows, but they're pretty far away. The Bravo drones are just now coming in, but 45 seconds remaining. Jet finds that window player, Draken all by his lonesome. Worm really needs to get to his teammate and fast, but with 30 seconds remaining, how much time can you spare to get that support? Draken, what can you find on this third floor? You need to get some sort of kill, some heroics, a foothold into this round. You need to get the briefcase first and foremost as well. Pistol out, they're running into each other. They're scrambling like the Three Stooges, and Jobu is still in the bathroom with this Mossberg. A drop from laundry is going to be the option from Draken. Still pistol out, by the way. Couple shots. He finds one, but Jetcon drops down from New Balk and finds a second as well. A beautiful web of Akron just swarming around their prey, and Kansas State has yet to find a way out.
You know, I thought one direction had broken up, but Kansas seems to want to revive it with that take, as it really was all focused on that one area, getting into Whitehall and Freezer. There wasn't anyone on the cocktail windows. There wasn't anyone on the White Stairs window. There wasn't anyone on the White Hall window. At least not that I was able to properly see. And that leaves Akron with a ton of room to move around there. They're not worried about being shot in the back or the rotation being cut off, because they know it isn't. And so they focus on disrupting what Kansas, are actively trying to do. And then even with all that effort being exerted on one side of the map, there are still things that Kansas missed. They missed Jobu in bathroom, for instance. And even that vertical play they tried to do just ends up being used against them. And Akron know that all of this is going to happen. And honestly, they kind of play to cause that type of calamity that makes Kansas make those mistakes.
Attackers are moving to defuse the bomb.
Man, it is just a pleasure watching Akron play. Like, it really is sometimes just a work of art, the way that they just support each other so perfectly. And like you said, they never felt like uncomfortable from potential flanks or potential other angles. But they might feel uncomfortable with their Fenrir now off the board. I believe that was a spawn peek, and it's going to be punished. Plexios now locked down, as there is a player on that single white window. But there is going to be Zosa. As Chief Keef once said, we love Zosa, as he does support Plexios on that angle and gets that frag. The Dokkaebi now off the board. No more logic bombs to clear out any sort of roamers. All up to the gridlock, and all up to the Monty that is now going to be spotted by Zosa once again. They do have the Echo Drone to support. The stun is going to help and slow down this Kansas State lurk.
Did Chief Keef predict Akron Blue? Find out tonight at 7. Although, really, the thing we immediately want to find out is how is Zosa going to do on these stairs? He's being looked at from so many angles. But Plexios has that crossfire, and it's played so well. The puck gets down. There's a little bit of a whiff, but it ends up working out in the end. They're all so focused on trying to stop this push from Kansas State, and it's working. They're falling to the calamity. Zosa's on his second. It's a 3 versus 1. It's all left up to Udazera. He gets the first one that he needs, but that Echo is still on him, pinging his location, stunning him as well, to make it easier for Zosa to win that gunfight.
He knocks down Zosa, actually, so now it's a 1v1 from Jobu. It's actually the gridlock mines that kills him somehow. So, inadvertently, Unizera got his ace stolen by a gadget on the ground. Does need to get his 4th here to win this round. The first round in 11 rounds for Kansas State. Has 5 Grimbies. No, one more yokai, though, from Jobu that is allowed to potentially find information on him, but you do have to worry about being on your phone too much, like these screenagers. You might not listen to hear what is fully around you. You might not know he might be right behind you, but he now knows kind of where Unizera is as those Grimbies go out. Unizera is quite lost about where Jobu is, though. He'll be playing tucked towards prep. does get some information. Is in Harry Potter. Bulletproof cam is going to be awkward for him. Good old impact EMP is going to help him out, though. Still just trying to find where Jobu is, but Jobu is lurking all the way through prep. He goes in the bakery, and he's going to find the contact to small bakery, and Unizera finds the clutch. Pretty much a 1v5. I would consider that an ace, Allie. And it's going to find their first round in 11 for Kansas State.
I do like that Akron have been, like, trying to cause that calamity that Kansas really don't thrive within, but it ends up just kind of being a cluster of things happening on white. And a lot of those things aren't necessarily things that are advantageous for Akron Blue. They end up losing a lot of bodies in trying to fight those positions. 4 of their bodies, in fact, in that one position. And sure, it was something that looked like it was going to be successful, but Unizera had just the right positioning to punish a lot of what Akron were trying to do. And that sloppiness is something they are going to want to work to avoid, right? It's only 1 round, but I feel that in the 2 rounds that we've seen Akron lose thus far, a lot of it has been more sloppiness on their ends that is self-inflicted than sloppiness being caused by Kansas doing something.
One thing I did like was that pick of the Grim. I thought that was something that Kansas could utilize quite a bit on these attacking rounds, not just for the late round like we saw Unizera use it for, but also for the fact that Akron is doing a great job of playing these crossfires and playing multiple angles and supporting each other quite well. And when you start to play that chess game of trade down, trade down, trade down, you can use the Grimbees to potentially plug some of those holes and not allow those trades to happen. They are going to be swapping that away, though, as they are going to go back to the Jackal, try to find out some of these roamers that are always just a knife in the back for them. Especially the man on their screen, JetCon, with 12 and 2 as his KD. 6 KD, by the way. I guess 6.5 if you add that 1 assist. Which I don't really add unless it makes my KD look better. Kansas State now going to use their time to, scout out what that pressure is from Akron.
If you get a second round here, then they honestly aren't in an awful position going into their defense, although I suspect that Akron's going to tighten things up a little bit going into this last round just to make sure that doesn't happen. We're seeing that Jackal just trying to catch people, figure out where they are, which is important because there are 2 C4s below. We see they have the Twitch as well to disrupt a little bit of that utility, although it's really probably only going to be used on the Miras. Though Akron is still managing to waste a decent bit of time here. There's about 90 seconds left, and there hasn't been a ton of meaningful ground taken by Kansas.
Well, the ground is going to be ripped away as JetCon finds a second as well. Dr. Bagasio looking for his first frag of the map, and it is just going to be left empty as Akron flies backwards. They know that this isn't the space that they really need to contest. The real site is on the 3rd floor, and they have their pre-placed C4 already. Plexios has placed that. JetCon just going to keep it in his pocket. So Dr. Bagsio is going to start to flood up top red into Cigar, trying to find some freebies, trying to find Akron Blue on any sort of free angle as they need some heroics, but once again, it's JetCon just hopping out and killing a mailbox on these windows. So now it's a 2v5. Dr. Bags is fighting these demons, and JetCon is still having a wonderful walk in the brisk Russian winter outside. He's going to take some time to rotate back up from White Stairs, and this might be the time that Kansas State needs to get into the site, and it's going to be opened up with Space being knocked to his knees. Worm dropping down and securing that kill, but next is the Freezer contact. The C4 is going to do a little damage, but it's the Chaos that is really putting the nail in Kansas State's pocket. Akron fighting back and making it a 5-1 half once again. I'm getting deja vu, Allie.
As am I, Tyler. It's a bit of like what I was kind of predicting. We saw Akron kind of have their fun round where they just throw anything at the wall, and they're losing it, and it's like, all right, guys, fun's over. Time to pack it up. And they do. They still played very, very aggressively, but it wasn't as chaotically aggressive. It was much more thought-out aggression for them. We see the two C4s running around down below, which means that Kansas have to clear them because it's a C4, which then means that they waste time and bodies doing that. And then once that threat's taken care of, Akron immediately switch to where are the last 3 players who are just holding positions, and what can we do to fight them? And that's exactly what they do, which just causes a downward spiral in preparedness for Kansas State, which eventually leads to Akron closing out that round and securing their second 5-1 half.
Well, you know, this cafe got some advantages on the defense, more or less. I mean, depending on who you talk to, this map is still like a 4-2. I would say it's a 4-2 leaning to 3-3, in my opinion, of how defensive-sided it is. You know, some people might argue differently, as Kansas State could be rocking the Mozzie this go-around, which I like. I think Mozzie is a very underrated operator, especially when it comes to a team that is really good at information gathering, like something like Akron. But the Cali is going to prove a little bit difficult for Kansas State, as that's just going to knock out these Miras and also knock out these castles that they're going to be holding on to for their defense, and very swiftly and without punish.
The Cali's also just good to cut off a very long sight line, which Akron probably will look to do during the execute. So it is a pick that has a lot of layers that I do quite enjoy. They're also bringing that gridlock to try to control a little bit of space, although the immediate step they're taking is information gathering, trying to figure out exactly what's going on with Yao Ming inside of Cigar Shop. There's really not a whole lot keeping him protected in there right now, so they're going to open that up, have an angle onto him, and get the pick as well. Although Yao Ming manages to get Jobu first, actually. Although, it is a gridlock who had majoritively used their utility already.
Still a big frag there from Yao Ming. It's something that we haven't seen Kansas State have a lot, is that first blood, technically. They did get that first kill. Space, though, getting a lot of Cigar Shop space, and there is no one playing that angle on the defensive side. It is going to be Draken and Worm, though, lurking from second floor, potentially putting pressure as a spoiler for some of these attackers, especially someone like Space, who's already made his presence known. Jetcon lurking up from Pillar as well, holding, I believe, it's just Nubalk. Yep, as we see on our screens. I guess I'm good at my job sometimes, predicting quite well, but that sniper shot is going to be really loud and potentially be what Worm's contact might be, but it's actually Jet being the predator and Worm being the prey, as the C4 rip is going to expose that position, and Jetcon swiftly takes that out. Zosa finding one as well. Draken and Dr. Bagzio. Dr. Bagzio taking up some top white space, but leaving Draken pretty left alone. The timing is awkward, but the Vector makes it more awkward for Zosa. Draken with a great kill on Plexios, and this round might be winnable, but Jetcon makes this a little bit more difficult for Kansas, as it's a 2v1. Think a boost is allowing them to take up the space and fast. Vector, though, can make a lot of damage, and he finds the headshot on Space. A 1v1, a machine pistol versus the very massive SMG. C4 does quite a lot of damage for Jetcon too, and the swing of the shotgun finds Jetcon. Kansas State with a statement first defensive round.
Yeah, we see there that Akron, they still understand how to attack on this map quite effectively, but there's also a much better understanding from Kansas State on how the defense has to work. And a lot of the way that manifested was that the clock was run down much quicker for Akron than it was in Clubhouse. On Clubhouse, we routinely saw Akron executing with over a minute left. Whereas that round, there's less than 40 seconds left, and Akron are still getting their ducks in a row, and that is a very uncomfortable position to be in if you've been used to executing way faster with way more already done in that time. And that is something that allows Kansas State to be more comfortable, since the clock works inversely for them.
Kansas State now taking a a note out of Akron's book. I'm gonna claim that Akron was the very first person to ever lock in the operator Echo, because they were, so you know they're gonna be locking in that Echo, stealing Akron strats. You might need to do not a MOS check, but like a PC check on like if Kansas has Akron's strat book. I don't know. Do I contact to like make sure that that's not happening? Do you know? Just contact like John Rainbow or?
I think it's at Kai PSD on Twitter.
Oh, yes, it's at Kai PSD. Make sure, and also I heard that he has codes for the previous major, the EBR skins. So make sure you hit him up. But the person that's gonna be hit up is actually Zosa. That's the Scopos running out and finding his first frag, and doesn't even need to transform in the open. Actually is able to just impact back from Freezer into the safety net of his own teammates.
That's an ace too. That's a hell of a first pick to get. Any walls that are gonna be opened are gonna have to be done with Space's can openers. And that's just not nearly as much room to work with as Akron are going to want. But it's also, in addition to that, phenomenal space taken, or pace setting, from Kansas State University. Now, they're the ones saying, I am in charge, you are waltzing into my territory, and I'm going to punish you for it.
The punish is going to be felt here from Akron. Like you said, that hard breach is down, and the hard breach charges are going to be used for vertical, but my question is, how do you open the walls like Freezer, or even like just the horizontal walls, bottom red, going into prep, things like that. Big hole in their attack, but this is Akron. They're going to try and problem solve, but that problem solving is really just going to come down to this vertical game. Are they going to find any freebies? Are they going to find any stragglers to the defense? So far, Kansas State is doing a good job of holding off on giving them those freebies.
There's only about a minute left here as well, and we are seeing the prepping for an execute, as it looks like they want to plant under cover of those Sens gadgets. But Kansas State are in pretty solid positions to stop this, provided that thing doesn't happen that just did.
Yeah, that's the freebie that we were talking about there. That's going to allow Akron's attack to be a lot easier, but my question is, do they find a backstab like Draken? Where is his other robot? I don't know if it's still inside or if it's somewhere else. That could be a spoiler for Akron. The Sens walls are going to go up, and that's going to time a good spot for Kansas State to play. But space is going to be found. It's actually traded. Somehow he gets one there. It's best condition for Akron. Kansas State still holding on. 20 seconds remaining for these Akron boys. They need to drop into the hands of Kansas State, but Jobu's drop is going to be very successful. Finding Yao Ming, a very tall man. He's going to find us a third of the round. It's now up just to Worm, playing from prep. The vertical is going to make this contact a little awkward. The yellow pings are going to be finding where Plexios is planting, but that might not be enough as it's a rain of bullets from side to side and above. Akron with a really well-paced attacking round, and Kansas folding to that attack.
Something I see quite a bit in teams at all levels of play that have casted, whether it is tier 2 or even tier 4, is that when that clock starts to get run down enough, they start to panic. They start skipping steps and going faster than they should. But Akron doesn't do that in that round. Instead, even with there only being, I think it was like 6 or 7 seconds left by the time that diffuser's going down, they know that they're in control of the situation, and when they weren't in control, they knew how to get in control of the situation. And I think as well, there was a lot more understanding of how Kansas State were going to play the realm than they had previously on round 7. So there was a lot less tomfoolery when it came to deconstructing the site than there was on that first round. And of course, it was still very, very close. But we can see there, even in that closeness, Akron still staying cool as a cucumber and are still staying on top of that adaptation game.
10 seconds left before insertion.
Kansas State, though, I forgot to mention the fact that they are on a record in the series. They got more rounds here than they did on Clubhouse, which, you know, baby steps towards beating a behemoth like Akron. You know, David didn't beat Goliath without a sling. You know, he had to work and harvest some rocks and some leather to make that sling. So, Kansas State might be just driving up there. Get that. This is a best of 5, so if Akron end up taking this cafe map, there's still a comeback. There's always the reverse sweep pressure that Kansas State could bring. Seems that Akron is probably going to be looking for a very similar play here, as they do have the sends this go around. This time, though, the ace has yet to die, so this might be a little bit more successful of an attack here, Ali, as that utility doesn't force them to only play vertical. They still have that horizontal of the ace.
I mean, they're going to need to be more careful going into this than they were before, as they know that Kansas aren't afraid to throw down now, and especially Draken is not afraid to throw down, and he's actually searching for a fight, which gets him killed off by Jobu. Seems to be more ready in that situation. Zosa gets one as well, and it's a return to form for Akron, as they've strung together 2 kills with no response from their opponents.
Well, now that's going to be a lot of power positions found, and also the power positions of Kansas State are completely disconnected from each other. We do see Yao Ming exploring second floor here. Walking slowly and finds space as he drops down from pillar, but he's not going to be found by another player. It's Jetcon there. Gonna secure the refrag of his friend, and now that's going to give them a lot of more breathing room for this vertical. They can only assume that the last remaining players of this defense are all on site, and they would be correct with that. The C4 of Worm is not going to find any target. Akron Blue, unless they find a freebie, are just going to be able to slow it down and get those win conditions.
Hatch getting opened up now. They don't have the space making that the Suns provides, but I'm not sure if they're going to need it here, as they're going to go for a pretty similar plant spot to what they had before, but with far less resistance, provided they can successfully dislodge Worm.
White Stairs is going to be the target here as well. This lurk from Freezer, and Zosa is good for that kill. It's Dr. Bagsio by himself in Bakery. Has some Echo drones to be able to deny the plant, and we're going to see that immediately. Zosa is going to have a little bit of a headache there trying to get the briefcase, forgetting what the code is, and call over his teammates to try to help him remember. And it's Jobu with some bullets to help remember the numbers, and they are going to find that diffuser down. Jetcon, though, with an easy swing, taking down the remaining member of Kansas State. And that's going to be the second map here for Akron immediately, and they're going to be facing Series Point going into map 3.
Yeah, Akron have their own map pick going into Serious Point, which really does set us up well for a 3-0, provided that Akron are able to get their ducks in a row on, I believe it was Consulate is our next map.
Yes.
So they're going to be starting on the attack there, presumably, unless Kansas wanted to start an attack on Consulate. So things are really looking up for Akron going into this next map.
That is what we were expecting, especially talking about them in the pre-show, but you never know what can happen. This is still Collegiate Rainbow Six, and that's my favorite part about Collegiate Rainbow Six. It's just random things happen. You lose a map, you might end up losing a whole series just because of a couple mistakes and some momentum. But speaking of momentum, we are going to have to pause the momentum of this stream and of this series and go on a quick break as we set up for Consulate. We'll see you soon, guys.
Oh man, this is incredible.
Oh, wow.
Huh?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. Hey man, grab me a meat stick.
I think I can reach it if I just a little more. Just let me go a little. I can't. Just a little more. I almost got it.
Careful!
Oh, God. No. Come on, just reach. Reach. Just grab my hand. I can't hold it. Grab my hand.
Give me the meat stick. This other hand's closer. The one with the stick is. Oh.
supposed to say?
It doesn't matter. He's dead. He ain't listening to you anyway.
I'm hungry.
No. Put it away. I can't watch it. Oh, crap. Just reach in. You gotta pull it. Just grab it. Just take it out of his hand. What do you mean you can't?
He won't let go.
What do you mean he won't let go? He's dead.
Help me. Get in there.
No, just hold on.
Make him let go of it. No, I got you. Just go in for a hug. Go and get on in there. It's a bad loss. Yeah, hug him up. Just reach. Hug him up.
He's breathing.
On the other side. Go.
I can't.
Just-
I can't do it. Help!
Help me, Lord. Help me get over this loss.
I can't breathe.
Hey, I can't breathe. I'm so upset. I can't breathe. Stop. You knock on wood so they go to heaven. It's like a lucky. Hey, get the stick. Hey, did you get the meat stick?
Yeah, I got it.
Hey, just hold tight for a second. They're moving the casket. Just hold tight.
Yeah, that's no worries. I got it.
Oh, what an awesome day for a pump, dude.
Yeah, I gotta take it easy. Doc says if I exert myself, I will die.
You overexert yourself, you will die.
I'll tell you what, you finish the workout, all these could be yours. That looks good. A little bit of honey ham for the ham. Get after it, and that's your, nope, get after it, and that's your treat. Do the exercise, do the work, then you get the reward. That's how this works, man. You gotta give it max effort, maximum effort. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Big hams. Make it work, those hams. Work 'em. Putting in the work. Yeah, baby. Yes. Dude, this is a spicy workout. Gotta make it worth it. Building the beef and bringing home the bacon, baby. I'm loving it. Teriyaki is just about within your reach. Come on, get you some. Come on. Ooh, ooh. Maximum effort. Maximum effort. You're there. You're almost there.
That's probably worth it.
What do you make of this up here? Just showed up in the yard a couple days ago.
And we are back from that pretty quick break, just 4 minutes and a half, but we are back for map 3 here. Welcome back for those that are just now joining us. It is the grand finals of Division 1 NECC. I'm Tyler Van, joined by the wonderful Allie, and it is Kansas State versus Akron. Akron so far leading with 2 maps, looking at series point of this best of 5, and we are going to be looking at Akron's map of choice of Consulate. Allie, what are your thoughts going into this third map?
I'm going to have plenty of thoughts going into this third map, but I think the most succinct way to put it is just that it looks like it benefits Akron going in. As I feel that Consulate is kind of the first in our series of 5 maps that really prioritizes being efficient and effective with your team play and utility usage. Both are things that we know Akron is not only capable of, but they excel at. And that is something that Kansas State's just haven't been very good at matching so far.
Yeah, we are going to be sent into game here immediately, hopefully, as, you know, it seems that these players, as much as they are efficient in the server, they're also efficient about getting into the lobby, which I do love, that level of professionalism. They're not here to mess around, to walk around their house, get a snack. You're here to play, and they are ready to go as we go into these operator bans. But I do have to agree with you. If you're a Kansas State fan and if you're rooting for them, there is a lot of worrying signs going into this third map, as Akron Blue has been proving themselves as, they are a CL team. These players are very, very solid about clearing efficiently, clearing efficiently, playing towards their win condition, and knowing who their win condition is. And it seems like Kansas State sometimes is just 3 steps behind them.
I find it interesting that we have the Mav bans for Consulate, as I think that's I truly think that's the first time I've ever seen Maverick get banned on Consulate at any level that I've either spectated or casted. So, I mean, it's not a bad ban, I would say, but it is definitely kind of odd. We're seeing Akron stick with that tried and true Blackbeard and Valkyrie for the third and potentially final map this series, with Kansas State pretty consistently switching things up to try to get under their skin.
I do have to agree with the all chat that is going on here. Unizera saying, 1v2, do I have aura? Plexios bringing a great point of the fact that Gridlock did take away the ace that was going to be Unizera's. Gridlock getting a kill with the track spikes. I do believe that whoever was that Gridlock has the pure aura. But the aura so far really is Akron's, as we've been saying. Only dropped 3 rounds so far in this whole series. And if you ever want to look at the bracket, you'll be reminded about how dominant these players are, as they have only 2-0'd so far in this whole full playoff season. And they're not looking to drop a single map, especially against a team like Kansas State. They're already on a roll, and they want to secure themselves in NECC history. It's just going purely flawless going into this Consulate.
They do have to contend with a pretty formidable lineup for this top floor to do that, or to start this off for this last map, or potential last map. As we see the combination of Goyo, Clash, and Tuchanka, which on this site I really like a lot. Obviously, the Goyo canisters are very good at just creating fire and flames that are very painful to step into and last for a long time. But Tuchanka can do that at will fairly accurately, and he has 20 of those charges. And that Clash as well, it aids in a little bit of information gathering, a little bit of spatial denial, a little bit of time denial. It is a really solid lineup for Kansas State, and that's even before the Frost that I was about to mention, who is dead.
Well, Frost got the utility down already. I assume all of her Frost mats were placed. So. Yeah, it's not a great kill to just lose, especially first round into the final map. You're already kind of under the pressure that, you might just lose this whole series, and this might be the end of your NECC run. Now you're dead already. They didn't ping the Frost mat. Please tell me that Jobu's going to shoot that Frost mat over the hop. I mean, I guess there's no really to get that kill, but still, it's worrying sometimes. When you see the utility out of the corner of your eye as like a caster, you're like, oh my god, they can see it. Okay. Thanks, Jobu. Appreciate it.
I believe we in the biz call that dramatic irony. Speaking of dramatic irony, they know where the Tuchanka is, but he didn't quite know that. He's going to get some shots through the floor. Isn't killed off, but still phenomenal drone work by Akron as they get a second kill this round, uncontested as well. That's going to be Worm, which is going to prompt the Goyo to get a little bit adventurous. Try to get a refrag.
Ooh. He narrowly misses the timing on Jobu twice there. Now he has to slowly walk and try to find the timing once again, and this time for it to be good. Jobu still doesn't really know that he's behind him. Still slowly clearing top of yellow. That Goo Mine is going to send him almost to 0 HP, but this Yao Ming Lurk will. He's going to finally find the timing and sprint back to his teammates. The security actually dropped down the hatch and played towards first floor, while the rest of his teammates are getting massacred on the site. Dr. Bagzio is by himself on scaffold outside, now dead. With Plexios finding that kill, he did get dropped to his knees, so effectively a 1v3 for Yao Ming. Space low HP, potentially possible, as the eye is on where the case is. YouTube stream is gonna pause. I think this is also some dramatic irony here, Ali.
Uh-oh.
Do we know about the defuse? Do we know about the stream? And we're gonna be cutting to cams, guys. Oh, just kidding, we're going. Zosa finding the kill. It was like a cliffhanger, but we didn't have to wait years like a TV show. We just had to narrowly miss 5 seconds, and we're back. Zosa finding a beautiful frag.
Yeah, I mean, yet again, just Akron, they know the map very, very well, and they know each other very well, so they can make those coordinated plays. But Kansas State, additionally, kind of played into Akron's hand a little bit there. We see them try to get aggressive and set an early pace, which is something that I do like. But the way that they did it just allowed for 2 completely uncontested frags to be gained by Akron. And then we do see a refrag come out of, I forget who it was in the Goya that last round, but it comes very, very late, and that just shows that that is a player that is not on site on top of the clash, who they know is not on site, and so they just kill the guy on site and get that plant down. And then because they try to go for more lurking, it just it's a bunch of issues that compound on themselves and give Akron a pretty smooth way into the site.
Yeah, I feel like Kansas State is kind of missing some of these, something that you say a lot, Ali, is, they're missing the crosses of the T's and the dots of the I's. There's power positions in Consulate that you really need to play and secure. I'm thinking about playing the deployable near vending, playing, Z and securing Z, especially when you have a Goyo, a Smoke, and a Tachanka. You have so many mines to play through. But they're kind of just giving up that space and playing these lurks that aren't really giving them any sort of advantage. I would like to see Kansas maybe fall back a little bit more on the fundamentals, play into those power positions a little bit more, and show why defense is just so strong on a map like Consulate.
I do like the addition of the pulse here for this setup, is that even if it doesn't lead or get a frag directly, can lead to several frags with the information it provides. But Akron are really playing in positions that are super beneficial to the pulse, at least not at the moment. So he's just kind of wandering around finding people. He does have a potential opportunity to get a pick onto this gridlock since they don't know that the pulse exists. Although, given that it's a gridlock, the utility usage or loss from Akron would be pretty negligible.
Yao Ming is using that information that he found to potentially get this kill on him. Now that he's hopped into tellers, he's on his phone. The dramatic irony once again, Ali. You see the top of his head, but he's now off his phone. He's going to hop through the window, though, and that's going to be a free frag from Yao Ming. But space is opening up the round on the 3rd floor. Worm is actually shutting him down, slowing down the push, healing some of these wounds. But those wounds are continuing to bleed as Zosa finds Unizera. Some of these power positions now falling apart. Yao Ming scrambling to get to his position, but the position is being crunched as Plexios and Zosa find him in a pinch. Now it's a 3v2. Make that a 2v2 as Worm finds Plexios on the refrag. Draken and Worm now finding the reset back towards site with 50 seconds remaining.
Draken is on incredibly low HP, but he still has all of his smoke canisters, which are growing exponentially more powerful by the second. So the plan's going to start to go down. He can deny it from a distance and try to get back into this round.
Oh my god, Zosa tanks it and gets the bomb down, but the poison bomb will kill him, but JetCon is there with the DMR, finding the 1 and the 2. Beautiful idea of where those defenders are. And, Ali, this is the Akron that we feared in Consulate. They just look perfect.
I love the fact that, I think it was Zosa sticks that plant there and lets JetCon get the kill. Because the positioning from JetCon is exquisite in that effective 1 versus 2 he was in. He knows that his opponents have to fight the plant because it's going down.
Attackers need to
So
look
neither of
for
them are
and
really
defuse as many
focused
bombs
on
as they
his
can.
position, and he's very fast when he gets those last 2 kills. But we see it in the kill, like they were both in that end of round kill cam. That's how quick they were. And Worm on that Legion didn't even have time to react to the rotation that JetCon went through because of how quickly he moved. And that trust that Zosa has in his teammates to stick the planes and then die for it, knowing that JetCon is gonna win it out, is why we're here in this series so far. Because they can play that coordinated game, because they know that if they die, their teammates gonna pick up that slack.
And we've seen it time and time again. I mean, even just the positioning of covering that slack, the amount of times that we saw on Clubhouse and even Cafe where a member died and immediately someone was there to plug that hole. It's really impressive. I mean, my ranked teammates don't do that, and that's why my ranked teammates are not even close to where Akron is. Akron now showing off a composition of potentially playing in the main breach and playing a smoke grenade comp with glass and allowing Blitz to be the tip of the spear. And we're going to be finding that Blitz in bottom red. It's going to be towards pipes. Yao Ming is now out of ammo, forced to fall all the way back, and it's going to be putting a lot of pressure on these defenders. But actually the defenders bite back as they find Jobu, the only support for Space, and Space is stabbed in the back from Yao Ming. So that initial contact of Akron's attack is ripped away. Flexios, though, exploring towards servers, and Kansas State doesn't really have a lot of information or utility around there. More about finally getting this main breach open and allowing JetCon to make some magic happen, but it's a crunch on the servers player. JetCon left alone in a 1v5, something we have not said this whole time, and Kansas State finds a flawless round against Akron on map 3.
I will reiterate a point that I made on map 2, and it's that a lot of these rounds, really I think all 4 rounds that we've seen Akron lose, they've lost at their own hand. And this round, there was a little bit of disruption from Kansas that really hastens that. But it's like that first round I talked about all the way back on round 1 of map 1 on Clubhouse. There were a lot of pieces that were good from Akron, but they didn't go off together. And a lot of that was because of that Tubero disallowing for that main wall to be open, so the Blitz and Jobu are just off on their own. And then the lurk from a sledge, which was a response from that, comes at a little too late, and he's just isolated as well.
Bomb located by attackers.
Because Akron, when they're all working together and setting up this Rube Goldberg machine, and then, like, all completely before they execute it, their executes they produce are phenomenal. But there are these rounds sprinkled in there where they will skip some steps, and those are the rounds where Kansas State are able to get in and score a round.
I'm curious about what sparks those kinds of rounds, especially that last round. I'm thinking about the fast flood of Blitz towards yellow. I wonder if it's just a missed droning, thinking that they have some yellow space or they found a gap, or, you know, obviously they're trying to put pressure for the breach, but they didn't even think about any roamers. And there was a Vigil roaming in the first floor that stabbed them in the back. And usually, you know, if there's a roamer first floor, you're playing a Blitz, you're going to use the Blitz and a run at that roamer. It's just quite strange to see that kind of misplay. The root, I guess, of that problem is where my curiosity is at. But fortunately, you know, we can only see what we see. We can't hear them talk about it. If we had like an interview or maybe like a pause and like, we're gonna listen in and talk to him. But the listening that is gonna happen though is Twitch is gonna listen into the comp of Kansas State and just find all the utility. That's 2 Vulcan canisters down and a BP. Quite strong utility just taken away, and Plexios finds that deployable default towards vending. These power positions just being ripped away within a minute.
He's using these drones so effectively too, and the Claymore is effective as well, as that kills off Unizera. There's a Twitch drone going around as well, trying to find as much utility as it can, while Space is poking up into an aggressive position here, trying to catch people who might be rotating in response to this utility that Akron are sending their way.
I like this poking and prodding that they're doing. They're not committing to a take so far. This is the Akron that you were describing, that in contrast to what last round was. The beep of the Melusi is going to show that someone's nearby, but they don't expect JetCon from the long angle. Jobu swiftly finds in and clears the corner. It's swiftly taken back, though, as Worm finds the other side of the attack, but Worm is now left in a 1v4, and he doesn't have the ace gene. He does not have that clutch gene when there's an over-under of Akron just swarming him with a rain of bullets.
Step by step, cross your T's and dot your I's is the Akron motto. Is every step of the way, no matter what Kansas has been doing, with a few notable exceptions, Akron look at the situation and assess what utility they need to bring to best not only take advantage of the holes presented to them, but also poke new holes into what is being done by Kansas, so there's no way they can get out of it. A great example of that we see that last round is that Flores. That's brought out by Plexios. You highlighted it within a minute of the round starting. He had destroyed so much valuable utility that allowed his teammates to push forwards up into checkers, which then allows them to work the site directly and work even more kills just off of, and that was one operator that was enabling so much of that, along with everything else that Akron has set up.
10 seconds left.
Akron just does such a good job of playing to every single one of their operator strengths. Like, they choose these operators so specifically, and I can tell why they require that operator in that comp. There are some times where I see Kansas State doesn't really play their operators to their fullest ability and doesn't really play into those strengths as well. You know, like, I'm thinking about last round, the Vulcan canisters weren't, I mean, they're placed in default positions, but they're not being played off of. You gotta, like, take that next step of, okay, we have the strength of this Vulcan canister, let's defend it. Let's play off of it. How much space does it grant us? Instead, it's Unizera throwing himself away as a body. And we're gonna be seeing potential utility for Kansas State to play off of that could serve as a complete difference maker here. The evil eyes of Maestro. But like I said, they're not defending him. JetCon is just going to take all of them and say, thank you so much for those evil eyes. Actually, that's going to help me in the post plant. And also, I'm going to be able to shoot some of these Vulcan canisters with them. Oh, and yeah, I'll just take a BP as well. And, you know, I'll probably get another clutch drone in there and get a couple as the logic bomb now is thrown out. And it's going to allow them to swiftly take up the second floor.
It's very quick work being made on all fronts on this attack simultaneously as well to preserve some time. Although that Echo drone is providing a ton of intelligence to the team on the defense as they manage to go 1 for 1, but space in the perfect position to grab 2. And now Yao Ming's trying to fight someone outside of that main door. But JetCon's not going to show himself, because his team's gotten the upper hand, and they want to make damn sure that they hold on to it.
Honestly, kind of good for Akron to lose a body because of how many drones and cameras JetCon got with those clutch drones. Plexios now has almost like a UAV in sight with all of those Maestros and BPs that he can constantly feed information to these attackers and find players like Yao Ming on these longer angles. JetCon with a beautiful kill and finds a flick on Dr. Bags. There's no way in hell he found that. Worm finds one, though, in response, a Nitro that I didn't think would hit, but does. Now he has to go all the way around, up to Spiral, and into the claws of Akron Blue. The footholes that were placed by the defenders are now going to be in opposition for this defender of Worm. Commando is going to be the weapon of choice for him as he clears towards main, has Lounge, but again, the utility of the defenders are used against him. Those Goyo canisters. And the JetCon angle. Beautiful frag from him. And what a clear from Akron.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I am repeating myself a lot here, right? But just, there's so much sloppiness in that defense, and just, they weren't watching anything. You bring all that utility on site that is so valuable, and there isn't nearly enough attempt to keep that up. 2 out of those 3 Maestro cams were stolen that we saw, as well as a bulletproof cam, so you're just completely blind on the site, whereas your opponents are watching your every move. On top floor, they have the information of that echo, but the response to that from the first player who died is to stick himself in a corner that he's not going to get out from, and then Space, because of the position he takes off of that, is able to refrag his teammate, who was killed in a refrag of that opening kill he got. And then on top of that, Akron know what's going on the site, you know, because they have all the Maestro cams. So they quickly get in there, kill the last remaining player, and leave it up to Space, who doesn't have info on his own site, because a clutch drone got in there and stole all the Maestro cameras.
Like I said, I mean, Akron just uses their utility perfectly. You know, it, like, sometimes when I play Rainbow Six Siege, I kind of, like, forget that, like, utility is, like, should be used, because it, like, distracts me from the fact that I'm not good at gun mechanics, and so I'm like, okay, I need to focus on gun mechanics and just, like, win my ones. Akron is good at both. They're great at, like, okay, what economy do I have of this utility? And how can I play the chess game of their utility versus mine? But also, they're just great shooters. Like, we saw that flick that Jetcon did. We saw the flick that Space did. I mean, these guys are all fragging out. Other than Plexios. But he's on support, so don't look at him. And he's also a really nice guy, so I'm not going to make fun of him. Oh, what? We have...
Yet again,
Okay.
we see awareness of the positioning from their opponents coming out of Akron, and it's immediately taken advantage of. Yao Ming teases a lurk, but whether it'll be successful has yet to be seen, as Akron's already started locking down those flanks to try to work that site directly. Ram's already started doing that. There's a clutch drone on the board yet again, and we see here Kansas, they want to get aggressive, they want to get something back that could end up coming back and biting them if Akron read into it.
But again, it's Kansas State. It's every defending round. They try to re-explore these vertical angles and try to find that contest, but then it just allows Akron to have the green light to hit the site. Dr. Bagzio is going to make all that noise with the M4. They are going to be re-exploring top spiral. Sure, he has the support of Draken behind him, but again, their eyes are towards this main breach. They might just be able to get the bomb down completely, and the smoke grenades are going to go through from Zosa. Some damage towards Draken there as they flood back to lockers. They have no space now, and Jetcon finds Yao Ming as Nitro is going to deny the plant. But meanwhile, Plexios and Space are fragging out from the backside. A server take, backstab, and that's going to be leading Akron to their 5th round.
I love the way they did that attack for several reasons. But I think one of the most interesting ways is how they reacted to the knowledge that those 2 players were on spiral stairs. Because we saw Yellow Ping in that direction. They had some idea that at least one guy was there, but the response isn't to fight that angle. It's to acknowledge that at least one body is away from the site, and they have total vertical coverage of the site. They just ignore that guy and go for the site while he's away from it. And even though he does come back later, most of his teammates are already in body bags being transported off the premises by that point. And there's no way for him to do anything because there are vertical holes watching him. There's a guy lurking up behind him. There are smoke grenades cutting off his angles. Like, it was a phenomenal, not only a setup for that execute from Akron, but awareness of what their opponents were going to do and how they should respond.
Akron Blue now, I mean, they make... when you look at the score here, 5-1. That's an average consulate defensive split. And they just did that on attack. This is looking quite rough if you are a Kansas State fan. Kansas State, they're gonna try to throw Akron off their game here and play a Finka in a Maru play. I think they're going to try... Oh, I was going to say they're probably going to go like up a hatch potentially, but it's actually going to be a potential swing in from into Suicide. It's going to be Yao Ming, I assume, with a shotgun as well, and they're going to just try to cause as much mayhem as possible. I would like the Grimbies to be in position before they make this play, but the Finka Adrenaline Surge is going to make me think otherwise. No Grimbies going out, but the Adrenaline Surge is... The Supernova is going to find the one pump, and actually, they're fragging out. They've found 3 so far as they flood horizontally, and it's Zosa now left alone as the Pulse downstairs. He was the one that also made fun of Worm for being by himself in a 1v4. He is going to find one with that Nitro. It's not going to be the one that is placing the bomb, however, so now his timer is running. It's ticking, and Yao Ming with another one pump like it's Fortnite. Beautiful frag there, and they're going to find Kansas State's second round of the map.
That's what I was talking about with previous speed plays that Kansas made. There, all the pieces go in when they need to. And so instead of just a guy running into the defense's territory and then his crossfire being established after he dies, it is several things overwhelming that site so Akron don't have a time to properly formulate a counter attack and fend it off. And that leaves Zosa in that 1 versus 4 where he is only good for 1 because he had the C4 playing Pulse. And that kind of coordination from Kansas State, it's phenomenal to finally see them get it right, especially on such a pivotal map.
I mean, pivotal might not even be the adjective for this. This is a necessary map. This is make or break. This is their life on the line. One might even say a lifeline. Sorry, I thought that was sounded so much cooler in my head, and then I realized I just repeated the same 2 words, but I put them in conjunction with each other.
Can't all be winners.
Hey, yeah, you know, that's why I talk fast, not smart. You're the smart one here. You know, that's why you're the color.
That is true. That is why they pay me the small bucks.
That makes sense. I get it now. It is a little bit more difficult. Speaking of difficulty, though, less than 30 seconds into the round, Kansas State's already in servers with Monty presence, and Worm is right behind him. It's an emergency exit take. Akron Blue might have some pressure to be able to play it. It's that spiral control that they have, but the timing of Yao Ming pulling out the gadget, but it's not going to be swung on completely. Plexios playing that angle. The Malusi no longer there. The stun and the shotgun is going to be missed. The first pump down, but the second pump is good. Flood from server now is going to be a little bit more awkward as the top spiral player is no longer there to pinch the spiral. As they continue this one-dimensional attack, it's going to be stopped quite hard.
Yeah, I mean, Yao Ming, he has an idea there, but just doesn't time things correctly. And a shotgun, I mean, they were built to kill in those types of engagements. And that still leaves Plexios standing tall. But much like I've criticized previous attacks for, this is so one-dimensional from Kansas State. They eventually kill a Plexios after he takes a second victim, but there's 90 seconds left. They barely have control of the lockers hall, and they've lost 2 whole bodies to get that done, along with your Monty now.
Monty just fully left alone, and now they're going to be flooding towards Unizera, the 1-2, and it's actually just a shotgun to secure that kill. Draken rotated all the way to yellow, but he's too late. All of his friends are already dead. There's no stab in the back. It's just, oh, guys, he's behind us. Okay, I'll just pick up the free frag. Thank you so much. Welcome to match and series point, Akron Blue. Kansas State, you need to show us something new and fast, or else you're just going straight home.
You can't only push maps like Consulate from one direction. Maps like this require depth in your attacks, especially against a team like Akron. That backstab came when 3 people had already died. So it's useless, quite frankly. Because the purpose of something like that is to catch people while they're moving so your teammates can... I mean, so your teammates make the move and then you catch them while they're moving. You capitalize off of that. But because that was so disjointed from the rest of the attack, everyone up until that point was only attacking from emergency exit. It's null and void, because during the time where it actually matters to catch people while they're moving, they can just move completely freely. And in addition, their plan to get rid of the smoke that was on Spiral Stairs didn't amount to much more than just walking at him.
Attackers are moving to defuse a bomb.
You know, it'll work, right? If I just slowly walk at him, I'll hit the 1v1.
He's just
Think I might
walking
have-
there. Menacingly.
Menacingly. Yeah, I mean, like, he just sat there menacingly with a shotgun, and you know, it's a shotgun. I mean, the Zofia stun did land, but if you don't have the full pinch, it's really awkward. But also, it seemed like their whole attack was based off of that pinch. Speaking of their whole, yeah, I was gonna say, speaking of their whole attack, it looks like they're just looking for the exact same hit as they did before. And this is Akron. This isn't some just like random team. I don't know if it's gonna work twice in a row.
Yeah, I mean, in theory it could, but Akron isn't the type of team that's just gonna let you do highway robbery twice. We already see here, Zosa's gonna be much more active. The Amber's gonna go in, gets that first down. We'll see if they can do more than that.
That first frag is insane, but Plexios is trying to recover more. Draken is able to find 2, but Dr. Bags is gonna find Jobu as well, and well. Look who we have here left alive for Akron Blue. It is once again Zosa, the single vertical player. This time he is gonna deny the plant. And this time it's a 1v2. He's gonna be spotted from a drone, so they do know where Zosa's gonna be rotating up to the second floor from. He's gonna be tanking the fire and the flames, as the song once said, as Ash is gonna finish the diffuser. Red pings. So he does have some ideas about where they're playing, and they actually don't know how fast he got up here. Dr. Bagzio is still looking towards yellow. Zosa has a timing to get these 1v1s going. Love this positioning from Zosa. Finds the gun barrel, but doesn't get the frag just yet. The hard wall is going to make this a little bit awkward. The timing, he gets the hand and he gets the frag, and now up to Unizera, but Unizera ran away. Oil canisters are going to stall the time of Zosa as well. Pistol out, running around, trying to get any sort of information on where he is. But with 9 seconds remaining, there is just no time left. Ali, we said, please don't make it happen again. There's no way it works again, and guess what? Kansas State wins the attacking round.
I mean, I have to imagine that the idea was, from Akron, was there's no way in hell they try that again. However, when a team has their back pressed against the wall like Kansas do now, that's the time when you go for those crazy, there's no way in hell anyone would try that plays. Because those are the ones that, I mean, they're very risky, but you're already down 6-2 on your opponent's map pick. You might as well just try something and see how it works, and in this case, it does keep them alive for just that little bit longer, which is the first step in mounting any sort of comeback, is staying alive for long enough to do so. Also, fun tidbit, Map 1, Kansas won 1 round, Map 2, when they won 2 rounds, and now on Map 3, they've won 3. So if the pattern holds true, then Akron have got this one in the bag. Although I suspect that Kansas are going to try to pull out some more funky strategies to keep that from happening.
So at what point would Kansas win? You need to win 7 rounds. Do 7. So you'd have to have it be a best of 15 for them to... No, best of 12. So if Akron versus Kansas was a best of 12, according to that theory in this trend, they would get a map. Right?
Luckily, it's not a best of 12, because I don't want to be casting till 8 in the morning.
Space might be at that position till 8 in the morning.
As much as I love this game, but...
I don't think anyone
Uh-oh.
loves it that much. Well, okay. Zara's gonna be down. Hey, chat, guess what? Amaru and Finka and Ying are on the board again. They joked about it in chat. They're like, no, we're like, what if we did it again? What if we did it again? They might just be doing it again.
I mean,
but I don't
it's.
think-
Oh no!
Well, there goes that
Oh,
one. And
no.
the one pump doesn't work. Oh, the one pump does work, and he's able to hop out? Sure. Somehow living. But remember, guys, Akron is defending the second floor, or the first floor, not the second floor, as the TSG finds Draken, and now it's a 1v3. Yao Ming with the Supernova. 1v3. GG's from space in all chat. This is the series decider. And it's decided by Jobu finding an easy kill on the Amaro, just telegraphing himself through the window. And Akron, the players from CL, the top dogs of collegiate, are going to continue their reign. And it's going to be an NECC as well, as they are going to take home the grand finals and be the champions of NECC Division 1.
Well done to Akron. Phenomenal play throughout that whole series, even in the face of some absolute buffoonery that was thrown at them from Kansas State. But hey, it's collegiate. We're all kind of here for the buffoonery, and also probably to watch your son play. I'm assuming.
Yeah, my son plays. His name is Plexios. Love that guy. Well,
I mean, I figure it's likely, you know. Your son's off
Yeah.
of college, watch him play at his video game team on his Nintendo.
yeah. You're still playing Mario, right? You're getting paid for Mario, right? That's what my dad said when I was a collegiate player. And I did not care to explain it to him. He didn't even try. But one thing that I would try, personally, Ali, is Wenzel's Farm. It is the Feel for Gamers, Feel for Champions, as they are, thank you so much, an ad and a sponsor of this stream. We do appreciate them. And also a special thank you to G Fuel for them and for sponsoring us and letting this show, this beautiful show, be seen and being able to watch Akron play some more. And it's a pretty competitive Rainbow Six Siege, but unfortunately with that 3-0, that is going to be the end of the stream. Congratulations once again to Akron winning the grand finals of the NECC. They are the champions of collegiate so far. They are running a terror in this scene, and it doesn't seem like they're slowing down. But one thing that isn't slowing down is going to be the NECC so far. We do have Rocket League happening tomorrow, Overwatch 2 on Friday, and then the Nationals LAN is going to be starting on Friday. So this Twitch channel will be very active in the future. So please drop a follow and make sure that you're following that and following that news. But for me and Ali, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys down the road. Have a good night, guys.
What do you make of this up here? Just showed up in the yard a couple days
Has a
ago.
dog been digging in here?
I don't think so, dude. That goes way down in there. Seriously, did you just lose your meat stick?
Yeah.
Oh, no. There's something in there, dude. Just leave it.
Are you kidding me?
We'll just head to us. Just leave it.
Hell with that.
Oh, yeah, there's something in there. Ah!
Want one?
Thank you.
It was worth it.
Oh, man, this is incredible.
Wow.
Huh?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. Hey, man, grab me a meat stick.
I think I can reach it if I just a little more. Just let me go a little. I can't. Just a little more. I almost got it.
Careful!
Oh God! No, come on, just reach.
Just grab my hand.
I can't hold it. Grab my hand.
Give me the meat stick. This other hand's closer. The one with the stick is. Oh.